Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. Woo! Wow. So yes. So anyway, I love you so much. And today is a cloudy day, but Starlight is getting her little butt out here anyway. Instead of sitting in my car where it's nice and warm, Starlight's like, no, Starlight, get your butt out there, make a video. Okay. So yes, I'm out here in the cold. And that's okay, because that's what this is about, is getting uncomfortable. It's not about getting comfortable, it's about getting uncomfortable. So anyway, I love you so much, and I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. And also, if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. And you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't be afraid, don't be shy. Swing by and say hi to Starlight by leaving Starlight a message down below. Beep, beep, beep. And you can also share my videos with your family, your friends. Lots of birds out here. So yes, there's lots out here. They're all out here. I don't know what they are talking about, but yes, they are so beautiful. I am a big, huge, if you've been around me enough, you ought to know that Starlight loves all the animals and people. So yes, we're going to birds. They're all around here. And I'm going to say a dog. And also, you can check out my playlist. Plus, you can find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. And for those of you who would love to send some extra love by sending a love donation to Starlight, Starlight would gladly receive it, and God will bless you for doing that. And you could do that through a Cash App, and I will have that information available here. Ping! There you go, there it is. And if you don't know how to do that, a Cash App, you can upload it through your Play Store, or different ways, but Play Store is how I know how to do it. And that way you could send extra love there, a love donation there, and Starlight will receive it on her Cash App card. So besides that, I want to say a huge thank you to all of you, yes, you, for being here, loving and supporting Starlight. So today's video is for new parents. Like, when is the right time to get your kids, like, to start using computers or phones, so especially today's world, things are a lot different than it was when I was a kid. What is a computer? I didn't know anything about a computer until later on, like really later on in my life, it was like 2007 when Starlight actually ended up getting like a laptop computer or a desktop computer. And I believe it was a desktop computer. 2007. Wow. So my son at least, he didn't get on a computer until 2007 to homeschool him. So here we go. And so that is what today's message is about. And there's a lot of things going on. So Starlight is going to help you as far as being a mom herself. And like I said, my son didn't start out until way later, and that was just a, homeschool him. And before that, we weren't even allowed to even watch movies, but we started watching old movies in 2007 and kind of weaning ourselves back to, watching regular stuff. I gotta, shit happens. So yes, I'm just watching. I gotta watch where I'm stepping, because shit does happen. And so anyway, when like I said, with my son, he didn't have use a computer, but mainly it was for school. And so there's a lot going on, and it's really important, is how mom and dad are going to be, and how you're going to be as an example to your children, that is so important, because I see it a lot out in public. I've witnessed where parents were paying more attention to what was going on in their phones than really paying attention to their children in a public, playground, where other kids and adults were. And I've actually have witnessed where kids actually kind of disappeared and the parents didn't know where their child was because they were so into, using their phone, maybe texting somebody or writing to somebody or watching a video or something like that. And I've seen other parents, I've seen a mom before with her daughter, and her daughter really didn't want to bother her mom because her mom was so much on the phone, and you could tell that little girl is like, don't get mad at me because I need to ask you a question. And the mom was so into the phone that she was, man, a lot of shit happens out here. Somebody's not being a good dog owner. It's not the dog's fault that shit happens out here. But anyway, that's why I got to watch my step here. So, yeah, the parents, number one, there's a lot going on right now. I watched a video yesterday and about, I believe it's the UK, where they're not allowing, the kids to watch TikTok. And so what is my advice on that? What do I think about, about TikTok and stuff? Well, to me, there's positive. I had a hard time with TikTok. I never wanted to go on TikTok. And that's why my YouTube channel is the way it is, because I have a hard time with TikTok. But you know what? I do watch a very little bit of TikTok. I watch my mentor's little short videos that are inspiring. And I love watching Michael Jackson, a lot of things I never saw. I didn't really keep up with the Hollywood stuffs, but, I like watching Michael Jackson short little videos. And Starlight loves animal videos, I love watching things, if it was going to be on TikTok that, it's no acting, it's actually something that really happened, but I really don't watch TikTok. And so what do I think about the UK, I believe that's where it was, as, where they're going to ban TikTok from the kids watching it. And that's why my whole scoop on that is, it's really, the parents should be responsible as far as what their kids watch on, and what they do on their computers. And when I started off with my computer, is that the computers were not in the bedrooms, and another rule that we had is the bedroom doors were not supposed to be shut unless the kids were changing their clothes for privacy reasons, so then they can change their clothes in privacy. So those are really good rules, because I've known families a long time ago that they and it starts off when your kids are little. Number one, you want to be the mom and dad. You want to be the one that's, in control of the kids, not the kids in control of the parents. So it's just so important, because I've seen a lot in my life where, it's a real shame when, the kids are the ones that are the parents, and the parents end up being the kids. And that's by, the parents, they're afraid because, the way this world is, they're afraid to discipline their kids. They're afraid to do anything with their kids because of the way society is and the way this world is. And, when I say discipline your kids, there's different forms of discipline. And I'm not saying to beat your kids, but, parents, need to be parents by making sure the parents are the ones that are running and making the rules in the house, and not having the children to make the rules in the house. And that is a big thing, is so you got to make sure if you're going to have kids is they're going to test the boundaries. So get used to it, just like us as adults, with the government and all that, or different places that we go and do things, it's just a natural thing for all of us to test out the boundaries. And even in relationships, that happens to Starlight, oh yeah, you gotta know what the boundaries are. And the kids are always gonna want to, do things that they're not allowed to do. And when it comes to computers and phones, is you gotta, as parents, that you gotta be wise when it comes to technology with your kids, even yourself, is not to follow and do what everybody else is doing. And that's a big, huge thing. You know, a lot of parents, they cave in because all the other kids in school has a cell phone. And, you know, you might have a child that's, these days they're starting off so young, they're getting out of the mother's womb, and before you know it, and I'm not even kidding, they got a cell phone, because they even got like little toy cell phones, for the kids to have fun. That's how they're already programming them already, as whoever makes these toys, to program them into getting, it's just it starts out when they're little toddlers, already got their first cell phone, and it's only going to get them to, see mom and dad, and then, and that's why parents have to learn to teach their kids, about, just because all the other kids have something, it doesn't mean that you're going to have what they have. And it's so important, because that's what happens in this world. The wide way is the way of the destruction. Just because everybody else is doing something, it doesn't mean that we got to follow them. It doesn't mean, that we got to copy what everybody else is doing, and that it's gonna, the wide way is lead you to destruction. So you have to teach your kids at a young age, because if you teach them and, be firm and say, no, no, you're not having a cell phone, but, you can, like at a certain age, because after a while, see, even the school system, they're going to get them in the computers, and I'm not sure what age they start doing that. But you got to be wise in how to start off, even if the school system is going to get them in the computers, it doesn't mean that they necessarily have to have a cell phone. There's people that can call up and make phone calls. The school system called my parents up when I needed a ride when I was younger. I didn't grow up with a cell phone, so there's ways of getting around that. But you want to teach your kids responsibilities from the beginning, but the parents have to be responsible themselves and being a great example. You got to teach your kids, like if you have a cell phone, is you got to teach them the right way. If you're following the way of the world and you're letting the technology overtake you, then you're not being a good example to your kids. And they need this, because it's not just about the phone, it's about everything else after that later on when they grow up, is that you got to teach your kids, the word no a lot, instead of yes to everything, and because you got to teach them when they get, when they mature and get older, you're going to teach them to tell other people no. It's a great example to teach them, like, so how do your kids see you all the time? Do they see that, like at the dinner table, is mom and dad, like using the cell phone, at the table? How about like, when you guys go somewhere, I see it's sad, you got two couples taking a walk somewhere, and what are they doing? The couple that are walking together, they are walking and using their cell phones at the same time. Where's the relationship? How's their conversation going when they're not even talking to each other? Both of their faces are into the screen, and they're not even having a communication. So they're not even talking with each other, but they're actually spending time talking to other people. I am really respectful when it comes to my cell phone use, and right now it's so easy because I don't have any family around with me. But when I did visit my family, I was really respectful with my phone. I didn't sit there, and use my phone the whole entire time when I'm visiting my family. So I was really, when I went and visit my family, I was there to visit with my family. Hello, hi.
What are you doing?
Good.
For a walk?
Oh, I'm making a YouTube video.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's about how much time people are spending on their phones and being an example for their kids, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool, Kathy.
Thank
Very
you.
cool.
Great. Yes.
See you next week.
Yes, you too. Thank you. Great. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. So yes, you gotta, teach your kids right from the start is to, be that example. Is when you're with family, are you just on your phone? And you could get in touch with people on your phone, but maybe you could just go, when you go to the bathroom, or not to the bathroom, but you can go in a private room or somewhere and take that few minutes, so your kids don't actually see you, using the phone and using all that time and ignoring your family, because that's what we really need more people to, family should be more important than your phone, So, like I was saying, when I spent time with my family, I controlled myself. When I go out to eat dinner, unless I'm making a video of me eating dinner out in public, by myself, I might be editing. I did that before, is editing a video, because I went out to dinner, inspiring people to go out and, even if you're single, is to go out and eat dinner. Go out. Don't be afraid to go out and be alone by yourself and enjoy life, just because you're single. And I'm sorry about the interruption. These are people out here. They know me because I go and get food at this place out here that help out homeless people. So so it is so important to be the example to your kids, and how much time is being spent. And like I said, there's a certain age that you can have your kids, but responsibilities, what are they going to do on the computer? What are they going to do on the phone? You got to be wise and have rules set up at the house and say, is it really bad to watch TikTok? Well, depending on what your kids are watching, how much, what are they watching? I don't see anything wrong with them watching some funny, goofy videos, of silly things, but have a time limit on it, like, hey, you know what? Really for TikTok, they don't need to be on for an hour, And what are they watching, like, it's okay to enjoy life and stuff like that, but you don't want them on there for hours, and because it is that addictive. With TikTok, I mean, how many videos can you watch in 15 minutes? So, but you got to be really careful, like they were saying, is, a lot of times with teenagers, even adults, they're comparing themselves with other people. And that's why it's so dangerous, is, what it does with them mentally, and emotionally, and later on it could be physically, it could cause up so many problems in their life. So you need to be wise and but be that example to your kids. And you got to figure out, you got to look at the stuff that they're watching and really ask yourself, but like I said, I mean, like, how much time do you guys, watch movies, and you got to just, like, it's a disciplining act, It's okay that people watch movies, but discipline your kids, when I say discipline your kids, I'm not saying to beat them, but say, hey, is all your jobs done? Are your you want to watch a movie, you want to do this, you want to do that, is that make sure all their stuff is done, make sure, their bedroom is cleaned, make sure their dirty laundry is picked up, maybe, make sure that their homework is done. And then they can have like a little reward, have like a timer set. Hey, your 15 minutes of TikTok is done, but you want to have it on a special setting, so then that's all they get, especially these kids now that are so addicted and, to this, that, Starlight's always finding something. Somebody put like a heart rock there. That's beautiful. So, yeah, so you really gotta be wise with your kids, but you gotta be that example to by showing them, showing them how disciplined you are, is there. You don't want your phone calls and all that come before your family, unless it's a family emergency that you need to call on on the phone. Then that's different. But If because what you do, you're teaching the kids are only going to follow by your example, and it doesn't mean that we're always, as parents going to be the right example. And these are lessons to learn, so if you have done stuff in the past, don't beat yourself up over it. You can always change and make adjustments. And, you might already have done a lot with your kids by making the wrong choices, by letting them be on their computer for too many hours, but that can still, you can wean them off just like a medication is. Say, hey, you know what? Sorry, and admit to that you made the wrong choice. Let them know that you made a wrong choice. They need to hear that mom and dad are not perfect, because the way society teaches us, and that's where a lot of kids they get scarred later on, because the parents can't even admit that they make, the wrong choices. And they need to know that mommy and daddy are not perfect. They need to know that they make the wrong choices too. They need to know that mommy and daddy are not perfect, and just say, I'm sorry, but we didn't know that this was going to affect you this way. If you see changes going on with your kids' attitude and they're just glued to that, that's a good sign that you need to wean them off. And you can't just totally take it right straight away. You got to wean them off, because it's going to be too shocking for them. And not only that, is kids are really smart, is you might do your job at your house and say, hey, you're not going to spend all day on the computer. But kids are super smart, is that, they'll go to their friend's house, and then they will watch, all these things at their friend's house, and if you don't really know the parents and what kind of rules they have in the house, it could really damage your kids in a certain way, where now they don't even want to be at the house anymore. They just want to keep on, going to their friend's house, because they get to break rules, and they get to, get away with stuff. And there's a lot of parents that they'd rather have their kids go to somebody else's house, so then they're out of their hair. But why, it's going to pull your kids out of the house. Before you know it, they're going to be 16 years old and leaving the nest, and because they like the rules at their friend's house better than they like the rules of their own house. So you need to be wise on, where your kids spend their time. So even the library, a lot of kids, I see this when I go to the library a lot, is adults and kids will go to the library, and what are they doing at the library? So there's people that will go to the library and they will watch movies for hours. So you got to be ahead of the kids. You got to be steps ahead of the kids, because they are smart. They're not stupid. They'll find a way of getting their way, and that's why you got to be a step ahead of them and make sure that you know where they're spending time. It's better to get them out in nature somewhere and but that means mom and dad has to get out there. You got to be the example to your kids by getting out there and getting out in the woods, getting them active out in sports, not at the school really, but playing together, playing as a family, spend more time as a family, because that's what these kids need. They need to know that mom and dad love them. And a lot of times teenagers and kids, they don't think mom and dad loves them, because they don't even want them to be around in the house. They want to they want them to go here and go over there. And those kids, they feel this. They know that the mom and dad might want them to go everywhere else but home. So you really, it's best to spend more time with your family. Get the whole family, mom, dad, sisters and brothers, and say, hey, you know what, we're gonna spend more time together. And that, a family that plays together stays together. So and let go of the how much time on the, not just the cell phone, but now the cell phone, that really, my opinion on that whole thing, I'm not in that state right now, but because my kids are adults. But really, when they start getting serious about a job, okay, hey, you know what, you're ready to get a job, you need to get a phone. That would be the time, to get a phone, or if they have a car on the road, to get a phone. but they responsibilities, you got to teach them the right way and, educate them on, the safeties of, the computer and their information being out there. So it's not, you got to really have rules to go along with this stuff, and teach them, but you got to be that example to them, how you want them to follow. So I love you so much, and it's not easy being a parent. I would love to do it all over again, and have kids, but that's all up to God on that. I really don't know what God has in store for me, but I guess I'm more of the stricter kind of mom, because you got to be strict with your kids. You can't just, but there's a line with that too, is being too strict with your kids. You gotta be that example to your kids, and teach them by that example with your cell phones or computers. And if you're gonna do stuff with your computer, do it in the other room so they don't see what you're doing, but then don't stay in there for hours, and they'd be like, hey, what's up in there, because they could open up the door and see that you're just on your phone or on the computer, and they might think that that means more to you than they mean to them, because that, jealousy is in so many different forms. And if you spend a lot of time on your computer and your devices, they might really think that you don't love them like, they want to be loved. And it could cause them to go in other areas to find other people, like boys or girls or even older men or women, to go out and reach out to other people that will give them the time and attention that they really seek. So it's so important that your devices and your computers and watching movies are not more important than they are, because they need your time, they need your love, and they need your attention. So be mindful of how much they need you, and they know if you are always on your computer and you ain't got time for them, you're really chasing them out, and they could get in a whole lot of trouble out there on the streets, or even with their friends. So I love you so much. So be the example. I love you. This is Starlight. You can give this video a thumbs up. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, you can leave a message down below, beep, 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 and you can share this video with your family or friends. Some sheep, and a camel. So also, you could check out my playlist and find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K, Dingman Starlight. So I love you. It's not about being too strict. It's showing them that you care, and also being the one that is going to run the house. Don't let your kids make up the rules. They will. If you give them the power, they'll take it, and they will be telling you what time you should be home. And they are not stupid. They are very super smart. So you got to be the one running the house, but be the example that you want them to follow. I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.